White man, fight back! White man, fight back! White man, fight back! White man, fight back! White man.
I was hoping to move past the Charlie Kirk situation, but after listening to these two, J.D. Vance was hosting a podcast on the Charlie Kirk show, and he brought on Stephen Miller. And the way they were talking, they are about to move into a space where they just squash the freedom of speech, and they're going to use the full arm of the government to do it. You could hear it in the things that they were saying. Immediately after Charlie Kirk died, this is what the MAGAverse looks like. The libs of TikTok said, "This is war." This person named Joey says the Democrat Party must be classified as a domestic terror organization and their members and leaders treated accordingly. Enough is enough. This person named Brian says, Charlie Kirk getting shot is the shot heard around the world. I'm ready for a civil war. You want a fight, you're going to get it. This person says, I don't want the National Guard sent to Democratic cities anymore. I want the Air Force. They are declaring war. Even Elon Musk said over here, directly after he was shot, if they won't leave us in peace, then our choice is fight or die. Let's talk about stochastic terrorism. This is terrorism that's instigated by hostile public rhetoric directed at a group or an individual. Unlike incitement to terrorism, stochastic terrorism is accomplished with indirect, vague, or coded language, which grants the instigator, like Leon Scum, plausible deniability for any associated violence. A key element of stochastic terrorism is the use of media for propagation, where the person carrying out the violence may not have direct connection to any other users of violent rhetoric. They are attempting to really rally up the civil war cry, and you can hear that is what they're doing on the right with the MAGAverse. But at the same time, when there is any kind of dissent with the liberals, they're like, they need to be doxxed. They need to lose their jobs.
Stochastic terrorism. If people are telling you Charlie Kirk never hurt anyone, the word you're looking for is stochastic terrorism. Stochastic terrorism is when public figures use mass communication to incite violence against specific groups while maintaining plausible deniability. You demonize and dehumanize a group of people. You paint them as an existential threat. You use inflammatory, violent language. Then when someone acts on that rhetoric with actual violence, you get to step back and say, I never told anyone to do that. It's terrorism by statistical probability. You're not directing specific people to commit specific acts. You're just broadcasting hatred to millions, knowing statistically someone's going to act on it. And it works. Misogyny is on the rise, along with calls to remove women's rights. This correlates with rises in domestic violence and harassment. Studies show anti-LGBTQ rhetoric directly correlates to increased violence against queer people. When you have a platform with millions of followers and you consistently tell them that certain groups of people are an abomination or threats to children in society, some percentage of those followers will take action. The insidious part is when violence happened, Kirk got to step back and say, I didn't hurt anyone. But that's not how stochastic terrorism works. You don't need to give explicit instructions when you've spent years painting a target on people's backs. He built his career on hatred disguised as Christianity, violence disguised as patriotism, and eliminationist rhetoric disguised as political discourse. So don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking his words were harmless. Words have impact, platforms have responsibilities, and hatred disguised as righteousness is still hatred.
Donald Trump is not a healthy man. He's not. And many people do not like Donald Trump. They don't like his policies. They don't like the things that he has said. He has insulted people ever since he has been making a menace on social media. But when he finally kicks the bucket, what these two men are going to set the scene for is, if you don't adequately cry and be sad because Donald Trump kicked the bucket, we're going to come for your jobs. We're going to come for everything about you. We're going to come for your freedom. That is what they are setting the scene for. The Daily Beast put out this good article. It says Trump cornered with the list of right-wing attacks on Democrats, because the MAGAverse is leaving that out. And the thing about the MAGAverse, when they talk to their mush brain constituents, when they talk to other MAGA voters, the MAGA voters just take it they just drink it up, and they don't have the discernment to even think about the fact that there is violence from the right on the left, and the violence from the right is on the right as well. They just keep trying to label this as something that's left wing, and that's the reason why they keep trying to attach transgenderism to the reason why Tyler Robinson took out Charlie Kirk. All right, it says Donald Trump's narrative on political violence faltered Monday when a reporter confronted him with a list of right-wing attacks on Democrats. The president has sharply escalated his attacks on the left since right-wing activist Charlie Kirk was assassinated last week in Utah. And I know that some people have an issue with the fact that they keep using the word assassinated because he was a podcaster and a debater. He's not even in politics. And they're not even talking about Melissa Hortman. They're not talking about the attacks on the Democrats at all, but they have made Charlie Kirk their martyr. And this is the reason why some people are saying, was this a conspiracy to just coalesce the right, to ignite the right and want them to fight? Because that is what they're doing. That is the language that's coming out of the megaverse. All right, it says, since he was killed last week in Utah, placing blame for political violence on the side of the aisle that isn't his. If you look at the problem is on the left. It's not on the right. That is what Donald Trump said. He just said, it's the left. We need to control the left. It's the left. And that is the fact that the president of the United States is stoking these types of flames goes back to the whole stochastic terrorism that we were just talking about. He is stoking these people up. This is the reason why you had MAGA people that were talking about going door to door and starting a civil war, because their people at the top are ladling blame on Democrats, liberals, leftists. It's like, who is doing this? This is none of us are sitting up here declaring war and saying we need to go out and pew pew folks. We're not saying that. Democrats are not saying that. That is all the rhetoric that is coming from the right. He says, if you look at the problem is on the left, it's not on the right. When you look at the agitators, you look at the scum that speaks so badly of our country, the American flag burnings all over the place. That's the left. That's not the right. On Monday, however, CBS News chief White House correspondent Nancy Cortez challenged that claim by presenting Trump, 79, with a list of political violence targeting Democrats. Giving the killing of Minnesota Democrat Melissa Hortman, the attack on former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, the attack on former Arizona Democrat Gabby Giffords, the attack on Pennsylvania governor's mansion, why make the case that violence is only on one side? Cocking his head back, Trump replied, I didn't say it's on one side, but I say the radical left causes tremendous violence, and they seem to do it in a bigger way. The fact that he's adding these words, bigger and tremendous and radical, it seems to want to stoke up more violence from the right to the left and give them the ammunition that they need and the plausible deniability on his side, because he's kind of hedging his bets. He says, I didn't say it's on one side, but they are worse. That's what he's saying. He claimed that the radical left really causes a lot of problems for this country, and I really think they hate our country. When another reporter asked about his plans to crack down on the radical left, Trump deferred to his deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller, who was also in the Oval Office for the presser. Miller said the administration would target those who are paying for violence. Who's paying for violence? Who is paying for violence? Echoing a plan he outlined earlier on Charlie Kirk's talk show, which VP J.D. Vance hosted on Monday. This is going to be dangerous because we know that Stephen Miller is the one that's running things in the background. And we know that J.D. Vance is, next in line. And he is a puppet of Peter Thiel. He is a puppet of the broligarchy right now. And techno-feudalism is about to be here, where they are about to squash our voices. They are about to try to make sure that people like me don't get views. They're going to really chill freedom of speech, freedom of dissent, because that is what they are about to do. And they are going to use the government to do that. They're going to insist that people lose their jobs. They're going to put pressure on people's employers to fire folks. So it's not that, employers are going to be firing people for embarrassing them as employees. They're going to make sure that you can't talk bad about government officials. And that is specifically against the freedom of speech. And that's where this cartoon comes in. I guess this is supposed to be MAGA Mike Johnson. It says, remember to always use government-approved language in your social media comments, because you know that these people are about to start coming for you. So what you have to do is really watch your speech patterns right now, because where we are right now, they are about to try to round people up or squash dissent. Because what people are being fired now simply for repeating back quotes that Charlie Kirk said and about empathy. Charlie said empathy is a made up new age term that does a lot of damage. It says he also said he thought it was worth having gun deaths every year to save the Second Amendment. These are things that he said. And then when people said it back, they're like, ugh. So then he was right both times. So why are you angry at people who showed no empathy? Why are you angry at people that showed no empathy? And it says, because I hate it when my lack of humanity gets thrown back in my face. They are mad at people for being a mirror, but this is what they are doing. The right is doxing people, but they're also saying that the left is the one that's doxing people. But their voters are too mush-brained to even know and understand that they are about to just start squashing people, and they are just riling people up.
What emotions I'm feeling right now, this is something people say, you kind of know the answer. There's incredible sadness, but there's incredible anger. And the thing about anger is that unfocused anger or blind rage is not a productive emotion.
Right.
But focused anger, righteous anger, directed for a just cause is one of the most important agents of change in human history.
Charlie showed that. Amen.
And we are going to channel all of the anger that we have over the organized campaign that led to this assassination to uproot and dismantle these terrorist networks. So let me explain a little bit what that means. So,
You've got 30 seconds, so be quick, Stephen.
The organized doxing campaigns, the organized riots, the organized street violence, the organized campaigns of dehumanization, vilification, posting people's addresses, combining that with messaging that's designed to trigger and incite violence, and the actual organized cells that carry out and facilitate the violence, it is a vast domestic terror movement. And with God as my witness, we are going to use every resource we have at the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks and make America safe again for the American people. It will happen, and we will do it in Charlie's name.
Thank you, Stephen. Don't go away.
Let's talk about the hypocrisy in the 180 and how the MAGAverse uses its voices in this propaganda. This is Laura Loomer on July 13th. She says, I don't ever want to hear Charlie Kirk, because this is when he was alive, claim he was pro-Trump ever again. After this weekend, I'd say he has revealed himself as a political opportunist, and I have had a front row seat to witness the mental gymnastics these last 10 years. Lastly, Charlie has decided to behave like a charlatan, claiming to be pro-Trump one day while he stabs Trump in the back the next. TPUSA was only able to thrive thanks to the generosity of President Trump. So that's how she was coming for Charlie Kirk. She called him a grifter and a charlatan. After he died, she says, I'm 32, but I can imagine in some way this must have been what it felt like when JFK or MLK Jr. were assassinated. For some reason, the assassination of Charlie Kirk feels like a breaking point for our country that will be written about in future history books. Charlie Kirk would have been 32 on October 14, 2025. And then she says, I have never seen the American people unanimously so affected by a single tragedy in our country since 9/11 and the attempted assassination of President Trump. Everyone is in shock. Everyone is devastated. I don't know how we as a country move on from this. So that's where she is now. She did a complete 180. What she and other MAGA voices are doing are doxing and threatening people. So this man named Mike Nellis says, Loomer is now DMing me and threatening my family. Last year, she doxed my home address. So much for the tolerant right. I don't know if I would ever call them the tolerant right, but Laura Loomer and the libs of TikTok and other people are doxing people. They're acting like, you can't speak. They are really saying no more freedom of speech. If you're not sufficiently upset, we are coming for you. If you have things to say about Charlie Kirk, if you even mirror his words, we're coming for you. This is Mike Nellis again saying, Loomer once doxed my home address on this website and repeatedly encouraged her followers to go after me, resulting in death threats that mention my son. Remember, we just talked about stochastic terrorism. These people are riling up their base, and then they'll be able to pull back and say, I never actually said go harm them. So Laura Loomer, this is the tweet that he shared. It's time for the Trump administration to shut down, defund, and prosecute every single leftist organization. If Charlie Kirk dies from his injuries, his life cannot be in vain. We must shut these lunatic leftists down once and for all. The left is a national security threat. And so they had decided that this was from the left. And the only even slight reach that they have is this roommate of Tyler Robinson. The left is not the one that is pushing all of this violence, but Laura Loomer and other people in the MAGAverse are able to try to connect it some kind of way.
So a few moments ago, I filed a police report against Laura Loomer, who is one of Donald Trump's closest allies, because she sent me a private message on Twitter threatening me and threatening my son. And it comes after 48 hours where she's been calling me a demon and telling her supporters to come after me and saying that I don't deserve a moment's peace. It comes about a year after she doxed my personal address and has been coming after my business and my staff for a very long time. And the reason she's doing it is because I'm speaking out against what Donald Trump is doing to this country, because I'm speaking out what people like Laura Loomer are doing to this country. And I am not going to stop. I'm not going to stop just because she threatens my family. I'm not going to stop just because she ramps up the rhetoric in a week where people are scared because of what happened to Charlie Kirk, which is scary as hell. And these are bad people who are the worst possible people to be leading our country at this time. We need people who are going to tone down the rhetoric. We need people who are going to try to actually solve the problems that this country is facing, which includes gun violence, of which Charlie Kirk is a victim of this week. And instead we get Donald Trump, and instead we get Laura Loomer. And if they think I'm going to stop just because they keep coming after me, they are dead wrong. I'm not. And I want to say thank you to everybody who has checked in on me. I want to say thank you to the Chicago police officers who were at my house just a few moments ago. I want to say thank you to just everybody who has reached out and been a part of making sure that me and my family are safe. And I'll have more when I have information, but I appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Let's talk about why Laura Loomer sent my son and I a threatening message yesterday. She wants to use Charlie Kirk's murder to go after any Democrat that she thinks is a threat to Donald Trump's agenda. That's what she wants to do. And what she's seen is that over the last year, I've been going on Fox News, Newsmax, Piers Morgan, other conservative spaces, getting into arguments with their heroes, Jesse Waters, Tommy Lahren, a whole bunch of them. And I've been winning the arguments, reminding people what Donald Trump is doing to this country, reminding people about how he promised to get grocery prices down, how he promised to make us safer, and how everything is a mess. And they can't handle that because what Laura Loomer wants to do, what the conservative media want to do, is they want to control the narrative. They want to gaslight people into believing the economy is strong. They want to gaslight you into believing that you're safer under Donald Trump. They want to gaslight you into believing that Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize when he clearly doesn't. And they are going to try to silence any voice they think is effective. So Laura Loomer thought she could bully me by threatening my son, and she just fucked around and found out that that's not the case.
Meghan McCain said this: I think the fundamental difference between the right and the left in this country is that the left glorifies death, particularly of adversaries, and the right does not. These people are the ones that are sitting up here applauding Alligator Alcatraz, where people were going to die if they tried to escape. They were applauding this. They were applauding a fisherman boat being blown out the water with people dying on it, and they did this twice. They're like, they don't give a damn about investigations or anything. We're just blowing people out the water. And she says the left is glorifying death. The right doesn't give a damn about kids dying in schools and mass shootings, but she's saying that this is a problem on the left. And she says, and it's not something I think I really have fully faced until Charlie's assassination, and it's petrifying. And this is David Hogg, remember of the Parkman shooting. David Hogg says Senator Mike Lee literally joked about the assassination of Speaker Hortman. Donald Trump Jr.'s Halloween costume was literally of Paul Pelosi's attacker. Jesse Waters literally said this is war. Trump has repeatedly shared photos of flags of Joe Biden being tied up. The right glorifies death. The right is perfectly fine with death. And speaking of David Hogg, he shared this screenshot of Alex Jones. He says the left is now celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. We are all Charlie Kirk now. And this is rich coming from Alex Jones, the one who basically terrorized the parents that had children die at Sandy Hook and pushed false flag things, talking about Uvalde. And then David Hogg says, after the shooting at my high school, you literally accused my friends and myself of being paid government crisis actors that resulted in us getting thousands of death threats. Go F yourself. People like this that are sitting up here crying now, the way they were so flippant about school pew-pewings, and now they're crying about this. Like, the cognitive dissonance is just astounding to me. And it makes my eyebrows furrow, like how they can even get to this point, especially him knowing he's bankrupt because of what he did to those parents after Sandy Hook. But yeah, these people that were at the Parkman shooting, they got harassed. The people after Uvalde got harassed. People just keep harassing folks that are victims of gun violence. And then they got Charlie Kirk that takes a hit and passes away. And now all of a sudden they're hand wringing and we have to pay attention to violence. Can we pay attention to violence when it's not just a Charlie Kirk? Can we pay attention to violence when it's school kids or whatnot? But in the words of David Hogg, go F yourself.